Run the intro.
Hello, I'm Thomas, and this is the KAANP, the Knoxville Area Artists Networking Platform. And here we talk to artists about themselves, the art they make, and where they make it, kinda. So yeah, stick around, give us a listen. Enjoy the show.
You don't have to be totally up on your microphone, but you can sit comfortably with your microphone. You know how to do this. I'm not worried about you talking into a microphone.
Feel like it's been a year.
We're not talking about a crazy 1,000 group of drifters or anything, so you don't have to yell into it too hard. But today, everybody on the KAANP, I'm sitting here with the one and only Louie Garza. Hello.
Hi. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute since we've been on a microphone together.
I was going to say since I've seen you.
Yeah, yesterday at work. So, full disclosure, this man's my boss, and he runs a business called AZ Rag Installation and Print Services. And what do we do at work, Louie?
Everything. Yeah. No, we do large format digital printing, vehicle wraps, brand management, signage. But I'd say definitely a majority of what we do has to do with wraps, from commercial to custom. Coming up with cool things, and people have either a brand that they're trying to make stand out or some car that they want to look different. We love to help them with that, so it's fun. Every day is not the same, right?
Yeah. Oh no, every day is quite indeed different, and I love it. It's keeps people on their toes.
Yeah, exactly. It keeps everybody on their toes, me included.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. I've been looking forward to sitting down and having you on the show, and I've been bending your ear about it at work
Definitely.
once a week.
Definitely. Well, life's a little different for me now than
Yeah,
it was
a little bit.
year ago. Little Lou over here, our side guy.
He's the guest producer today. Yeah.
Does it sound good, buddy?
Normally it's Mariah, but it's little Lou today.
Nice.
So what's it like being a creative person in Knoxville right now?
I mean, it's pretty awesome. I mean, there's definitely a lot of influence here. I feel like Knoxville is kind of like a melting pot for a lot of things, and the creative industry is definitely one of them. It's like I'm originally from LA, and so I grew up with a certain sense of style, and coming here, you definitely feel the influence of the southern region, and the influence that the Appalachia has on this area and whatnot, and so you kind of tend to assume like, hey man, this is what it's going to be about here, and this is kind of what I have to bend my artistic eye towards, and you kind of find it's like a yes and no, like you kind of you can't help to get influenced by that, and then but also like so many other artists and people have moved here, and so you have their influences into this area.
Yeah,
so,
from all over.
Yeah, so it's pretty awesome, and I wish I can get out more to just functions. Obviously, right now with the pandemic, it's tough. But even before the pandemic, trying to get out and mingle with other artists and stuff like that was a little bit difficult for me. And now with the 9-month-old, it's going to continue to be a little bit difficult. But ideally, when things kind of loosen up for me, to get out to extracurricular functions and whatnot would be ideal. So that way you just kind of talk to other artists, and so thankfully I have you in the shop who has an artistic eye and ability, and so it's nice. It kind of helps me in that manner, but yeah, I look forward to those days that are coming.
Yeah, being able to mingle and network with other artists, hopefully this summer at some point will be a lot of fun.
For sure.
I'm really looking forward to hitting the first Friday circuit again and showing somewhere potentially this summer.
Oh yeah.
Really excited about that.
Yeah, I'd love for us to kind of do what we did for Dogwood Arts a couple years ago, but do a live demo, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like a printed graphic. It'd be just something that maybe
just a color change.
Yeah, you're busting out some flames on a hood, or something like that. What we did with the auto show a couple years ago. So I can't wait for those days to come again.
Yeah, the knifeless tape demos are awesome.
Yeah,
that's so much fun.
For sure.
So what's your artistic journey been like as a creative person? You've been doing this forever, since you could pick up a pencil?
Yeah. They tell me I got my artistic eye from, it seems like a person on each side of my family. So like my dad's grandfather was an artist, and then of course kind of passed it on to my dad, and then my mom's oldest brother was an artist, and I feel like her brother did more of the traditional like clowns and smile now cry later type
Yeah.
signature art pieces that that tend to be a stereotypical like thing for the LA area or whatnot. And man, my dad was more of like the cartoonist type guy, and but he was also into cars, and so he'd always like come out with like these. I remember like in the '80s, like these like slammed like mini trucks with the deep dish wheels, which is crazy because like you see that again. Like,
That's cool now.
It's come back out, and especially like in the drift scene, which kind of ties into everything else I do. But yeah, so so like growing up in LA, you're like you're almost if you're into art, you're almost kind of categorized as like, oh, you do graffiti and stuff. Like, I mean, I think graffiti is cool, and I would love to do it. My problem, growing up as an artist, was that I tried too hard to do that, and so I was never happy with what my result was, and
Yeah.
and so it's like I never really wanted to pursue that, I guess you can say, and which I can have fun with spray cans for sure, and I can probably come up with some stuff, and at this point with the experiences and whatnot that I've had, I can maybe mimic and whatnot things that I've seen. But I was really big on like pen and ink. I loved black and white, drawing and like comic book stuff, and even like in high school, like dabbling a little bit into like cell frame, with the old school ways of animation, and that kind of like pushed me into the thought of like maybe I want to be an animator. And then of course, back in those days, it was way before all this big CGI stuff and before Pixar, and eventually, just I kind of battled with myself on what I wanted to really pursue in high school, and went back and forth between like CAD drawing and architecture and illustration, and so that was all like in my California days. And after so towards the end of that era, I was going to school, so I decided, okay, I'm going to go to this college who is kind of like a feeder for Pixar. And so they had a program where they would basically mold you into a computer animator for Pixar.
Yeah.
And so it started off with a lot of illustration and just hand drawing stuff and understanding physics and body, and doing life drawing and stuff like that, drawing naked people, and so I got to that point, and at the same time I was trying to put myself through school, and so I was working at the same time, so it was a little bit tough because I lived on my own with a couple of roommates, and I was working like 45 minutes west of where I lived, and I was going to school 45 minutes east of where
Oh
I
no!
lived.
So you're getting pulled in both directions.
Yeah, and plus
Literally.
I'm driving this 1965 Volkswagen bus, so it's like, man,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, yeah. This this bus I'm trying to restore because I was in the Volkswagen Club back then. It's like it was definitely taking a lot of effort for sure, and it's one of those things like I don't know where I would have been if I didn't get in my accident. So I ended up crashing in the Volkswagen bus and being on disability for like 8 months, and that hurt me financially. And so I had to make a decision whether to stay in the rat race there in LA or maybe take up the opportunity of a relative who had moved here to Tennessee to put me up for as long as I could have, that I needed.
Yeah, until you got on your feet.
Yeah, until I got on my feet. And so I made that decision. I bought a $50 Greyhound bus ticket and packed up my personal
From
belongings.
California to Tennessee.
That's right.
It was $50.
$50.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And like I said, I brought like a box, probably like a 24 by 24 square box, and a sleeping bag, my crutches, and just
Were you injured while you came across on the bus?
So I was still so I was recovering. So I had just gotten a release from the doctor, like, okay, you can walk, but I didn't have 100% like release yet, like from the doctor. They're just like, you can walk, but don't put anything over your body weight on your leg. So when I moved here, I was still technically disabled. And so, yeah, I moved here and got an office job and knew I was going to go back to school to figure something out. And UT seemed a little bit out of reach for me financially, and I didn't necessarily want to get myself way deep into like financial debt,
Yeah.
student loan debt and stuff. And so I kind of, just worked around for a little bit and figured out where I can make money. And then finally decided, yes, go back to school. And I went to Pellissippi, basically, to get like a CGI computer. What is it? Not CGI. Communications, graphics technology.
Hmm.
I think is what and I think it's still the program there. But that's where I went to like get trained on like all the Adobe suite software and figure out how to how to really work developing logos and yeah, I caught on really quick and so just a really quick like kind of backpedal on that is that all these years in California when like and I'm gonna show my age here is like when Packard Bell came out with their PCs and AOL was a thing. Well, guess what came with that was like Microsoft Paint.
Yep.
And so I felt like a master at Microsoft
You
Paint.
said, "Oh shit."
Yeah, and so that kind of helped out with learning Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop and stuff like that. But yeah, and so I finally just pinned down what exactly I wanted to do here, and I wanted to be in T-shirts. I wanted to be a screen printer, and part of that came from like in California too. I had some sort of weird desire that I want to
Make
be a
T-shirts.
T-shirt maker and print them and design them and all that sort of stuff. Ooh, that hurt.
I guess not.
Our co-producer here, he's got a thick head like his dad. So yeah, I did. I got into screen printing here in Knoxville. Worked my way up from like I got lucky and I was able to just get hired on as a printer, which usually you got to be a screen washer.
Yeah.
And work your way up. And so I got myself in as a printer, learned that pretty quickly, became a print manager, and it just kind of snowballed from there. I just got into sales after that because I just kind of felt like I capped out. I hit the realm of like, okay, I can't go beyond this here. I got to really figure out. So I met some guys with the sign company, and they kind of showed me like the digital arts and stuff like that, and so it was what really opened my eyes to where we're at now. It's the large format. It's the large format stuff, and it's fun. I mean, it's making back then it was like just straight up substrates, signs and banners and stickers, and you had sticker applications on cars and stuff like that, and then my cousin or my brother was still living in LA and said, hey, check these out, and it's and it's like he's like, you gotta check this out, it's wraps. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I looked it up and told the guys about it where I was working at. They're like, they kind of wrote it off, and eventually they came back and said, hey, we got to try this.
Yeah, we need to do some of that.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, we do. It's like you're messing way more detailed with cars and stuff like that, and so like, yeah, we got to definitely check that out. So yeah, it's kind of like the rest is kind of history with where I grew as an artist and and just kind of like a brand developer and staying in like staying into cars with the aftermarket products and just customizing type things kind of helped form my direction with what I wanted to do with vinyl and stuff like that. And it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy how all that just got me to this point. And and I got lucky and like working for good companies, good people, and I never ever built burned bridges. I really just left because I just kind of outgrew the company in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
Or the company like before I started the business, the company got to a point where it got too big, and I'm not one for feeling like I'm just a number. And so I decided to start AZ Rag, and it's I was lucky, and I feel like just to take all the good and benefits and plus all the pluses from all these experiences that I had to really kind of develop the structure for AZ is kind of how that all happened. Well, that's probably a little bit more than what you asked me.
I mean, it is, but that's fine. I enjoy what you've crafted as a business, being an employee and inside of it, and living inside this ecosystem you've created for us. It's nice. I don't hate going to work.
Right, yeah, that's the goal. It's like, why have to hate going to work? But again, it's like it's so creative. Even if you you are tasked with just one thing or another. Hi.
We can pause this. Oh, hang on. All right, so we had to take a little break to get our guest producer fed by the guest. So we're
It's
in the
crazy
middle
how
of
young we're hiring nowadays. You know? 9 months old, man. I can't believe it.
we're making spaghettios and avocado happen right now for our youngest crew member. So where were we?
Oh, we're just chatting about like my artistic background, and then I of course blended it in with how I ended up out here.
All right, so let's ask a little more specific question. What have been the mediums that you've ran through? What'd you cut your teeth on? What'd you work on in college? What are you doing now? Things you might want to try in the future.
So I had, of course, going back to the black and white, and so that was like, either on like canvas or just like bigger, I don't want to say construction paper, but some pretty heavy weighted, paper. And then got into like a mix of that with airbrush. And I always, even before I had my first time using airbrush, I was always like, man, I really would love to learn how to airbrush because that was how you got your color fades and all that sort of stuff. And so I was like, man, I really want to learn that. And I did. I did quite a bit of that in like high school. And I mean, I got pretty decent at it. I mean, and of course, like when you're in school, they're like, okay, we're gonna hang up this class's stuff in the hallways, and
Right.
and so that happened a few times. They wouldn't. It got to the point where they wouldn't necessarily hang everybody's up, but they'd hang up the really good ones. And mine went up a couple times, and there was once that it actually got stolen, and I was like heartbroken.
Oh man.
Yeah. I was heartbroken because I was like, man, I really love this Batman, piece that I did, and I mean, it was like a new age Batman, kind of robotic, and so it had a lot of cool like, effects with like metal shine and stuff like that.
There you go.
But it's that was what I really was trying to get into there with that, and then a lot of it was just kind of like experience and going through, what the classes had to offer, and so like I just kind of went with the flow of what is it, like charcoal drawings and fades and stuff like that, and so learning all that was really neat. Learning how to shadow and create, dimension and stuff like that, so I did a lot of that. But I've always found like if I was doing anything outside of school, it was like just drawing on walls at home, like doing like acrylic paintings and stuff like that. And I was just, and I still do, and I still watch cartoons. So I was a major cartoon geek back in the day, and
Cartoons are good medicine.
yeah, and I still watch, and so I get Jenna will harass me here and there, like, oh my god, I can't. How do you watch cartoons?
Why are you watching Looney Tunes right now?
Yeah, I'm like, come on, why not? It's like, it's awesome. And so, I would draw like, I remember like doing like a huge like drawing on my wall in my bedroom of like the Joker, like the animated series Joker.
Yeah, voiced by Mark Hamill because it was awesome.
Yeah, and I think my grandmother was kind of like babysitting us at the time because like
Oh, she was so happy you did that, right?
Dude, no, she thought I drew the devil. Like she's just like El Diablo, no, like and she's like basically stopped taking care of us because I wouldn't paint over this devil on the wall. And so I was like, wow, and that was pretty intense. And so the way I drew it, like it was just like I drew him popping out of the wall, like the
Like
traditional tear, yeah.
Oh yeah, great.
And so I did that, and then so I think finally it was. I'm pretty sure it was after. Like I was like, okay, let's do something new, and I did like this. Like I became like a huge Animaniacs fan, so I just did this huge like mural of like all the Animaniacs.
But it's great. They're so great.
I know they are. They are. I haven't I've seen one of the new episodes now, but I haven't continued to watch it.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
The first one was really good. But so like that's where I found like myself doing the most like extracurricular, art, pieces was on walls. I did like, murals of like a big Dodger fan. So like the Dodger logo, learn how to like scale and, the old grid system. And I took that from where I learned at school. Like, you grid it out and then, like it's even easier to kind of really. Yeah.
And then up on the wall it goes.
Exactly. And so, doing some of that, I think I even did one here. Like it was like of somebody's like Corvette. And this was like when I first moved here and I was like still going to school, or whatever. And it was like a C5 Corvette, like the 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
The only thing I was unhappy with was with the way the front wheel looked because it was kind of cocked to the left. And I was just like, I can't.
It was just a little oblong and it bugged
Yeah,
you.
I was like, oh god, this looks a little distorted, but they were happy with it.
Well, there you go. Customer
So-
pleased.
Yeah, and so that was drawing, painting, and airbrush all mixed in together.
Well, that's sort of like how I've been pushing myself into the pinstriping, and my listeners have heard me say that a bunch. So I won't harp on it too much, but that's definitely the thing I've picked out to push myself next.
Yeah,
And it's hard to learn. The learning curve is really steep, but the payoff is so good.
it is. I mean, and it's like to be able to have yourself an area where you set it like at home, and I could go in here and I don't have to worry about picking up and putting it away. Like I definitely am anticipating when I can get back to that. Because right now I really don't do much. Like I think like Jenna kind of pushes me to do like just extracurricular stuff at home. Like there was once we did some paintings for Christmas, and she's like, paint this, and she wanted me to like copy this thing she saw, and like so I was like drawing my own version of it. She's
Is that
like,
when you did that
doesn't-"
snowman?
Yeah. She's like, that doesn't look like that. I was like, it doesn't. Like this is
It's
my
my
own.
version of the
So
thing.
I want this. I'm like, fine. And so, yeah, she was that upset. And so, I did. So I was like, fine. I fixed it, and still had some imperfections, whatever. And she's like, all right, draw your own. I was like, draw my own.
I just did that.
All right.
I just did that.
I just started drawing like or painting a winter wonderland, and it's like this snowman. He's running away, and she's like, it looks like he's running. I was like, yeah, he's running. She's like, what is he running from? I was like, hold on.
Hold it, I'm getting there.
Yeah, I was like, it's like I put a plume of smoke and a little yellow glow in the background. I was like, you see that? He lit this dude's cabin on fire and he's running away from it.
Yeah. Very, very very whimsical of you.
Yeah. So it's like, okay. And that's like probably the last like I've ever really that I painted anything on anything, which was like probably a year ago or so, maybe 2 years ago. But and so I got I would get like as a young kid, like I'd get cool little projects like from like your relatives in church or something like that. Hey, draw this, and so
Will you do me one? Can you do one of these?
yeah, it was like the program for like the church carnival in California, and like it's a contest and see if you win, and like I actually won one of those, and so I got to see my stuff like printed and published, and and so stuff like that was like very motivating and like encouraging to like pursue like just art as a career.
Yeah, speaking of that, I saw one of our clients' trucks out and about today. Not on my way here, but while I was running errands before I headed over. It was
Nice.
the Perfect Edge lawn care.
Oh, nice.
They're white
Yeah.
Silverado. Yeah,
That's
saw that.
awesome. Yeah, I like. It's a good looking logo and stuff. That was pretty good.
Yeah, that's a sharp looking truck. But it's to the point where we're rolling around town. Oh, I did that.
Yeah.
There goes that truck. Oh, no, there goes one of those, or that sign.
It's crazy. It's really crazy. Like, so when I stepped away from like this industry, like I guess I consider like the retail side of it. It took maybe a year or two before I was like, man, I don't recognize anything I've done on the road anymore.
Yeah.
Because before that, I was in it for 7 years or so, and then so when I stepped away, I went to go kind of do. Basically did the same thing, but for, the company, not for clients.
Right.
If that makes sense. But so yeah, that was kind of like disappointing, but I was like, it is what it is type of thing. But now, yeah, like you said, like, I mean, here we are.
See it all the time.
Yeah, now we're like, oh man, we did that.
Yeah, I've been working for you long enough now to where like I can go to any corner of town and be like, oh yeah, we did one of those,
Yeah.
or
No,
we
it's
do
a-
their fleet. Or
It's a good
blah, blah,
feeling,
blah.
It's like, man, you actually get to see it. It doesn't like go on into another state or, something like that. And so
Yeah, it's nice. It's
it's a sense of accomplishment
Yeah.
and
they-
pride.
You see it out and about in the real world, and it's being used the way it's intended. And it's it's doing what it's supposed to do.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean that's kind of where I'm at, like with my abilities. I mean, I don't want to pin myself down to saying this is the only style I'll do. But I'm sure that I do have some sort of style, and at some point somebody's gonna say, yeah, Louie did that. And because they know the way I kind of put
Yeah.
things together, and not necessarily just pencil to pen, pencil to paper, but digitally and
Yeah.
just aesthetically and the way it's the arrangement and whatnot.
Yeah, I feel like you have a pretty distinct style. It might not like stand out amongst its peers because the information is all technical, and there's things you need to convey on the side of a vehicle and stuff. But
Right.
I feel like there's a hierarchy to your work that a lot of other places don't have. Like, and you have that consistency because you're the one putting it together, and it's not all the time coming from some design house or
Right.
customer supplied all the time, or things like that. So
Yeah.
you have the luxury of having that consistency.
Yeah, I feel like with and just like any other industry, like the supplier is going to want to sell as much of that product as possible.
Yeah.
And so with what we do, where it's more focused towards vehicles, those suppliers are trying to sell that much more material to somebody who got into the industry as a sign shop and has always just done things by template. So you're just literally going by the book, very cookie cutter.
Yeah.
As to where for us and for me, like I really want to personalize it.
Yeah. So the cookie cutter doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, and it doesn't. It's effective, but that's where for us, we can say, look, we can really help you set yourself apart from the norm, from your competitors, so on and so forth. So it's pretty fun.
Yeah. You've put out some very the commercial stuff is not supposed to be like pretty to look at, but
Right.
but there are definitely some designs out there that are enjoyable and
Yeah.
easy to look at and read and interact with as a consumer of information in that
Yeah.
in that stance.
Exactly.
So it's super handy, super duper handy. Are there any people in the rap game or that kind of thing that you draw inspiration from? Anybody that perhaps directly influences your work? Like if you have any direct influences, now's a good time to talk about.
Yeah.
Or outside of the rap
yeah.
game, just in general.
Artistically, it's hard to say. Like I it's really hard, to not plagiarize. Like I am big on like not plagiarizing. And I feel like there's not necessarily been somebody who's really stood out for me to say like, oh man, I really love what they do and I want to kind of, follow suit. There are, and that's not to say, I mean, there are a ton of good artists out there. There's a lot of good artists, that apply their talent towards our media, and that and social media kind of I'm afraid of saying help because I'm not the biggest fan of social media, but it makes it very easy. It makes it very easy for somebody just to click on something and search and find, pieces out there.
Yeah.
You could easily follow, a influencer or brand influencer and see, what's out there. And, some of the ones that we do follow, they are, they're international. I mean, the brand itself is, in the States, but like they get tagged from artists and rap shops all over the world. So you get to kind of, and again, that's where it comes in. Like it's like the easy button. Like, oh,
Right.
look at this, check it out.
This is what they're doing in Europe today.
Yeah, this is pretty awesome. And so, it's so like if they were like it would be easier for me to say, man, maybe there's a brand that we really like to kind of look, and see what they're following versus like what we have local to us that is that stands out. One of the big ones is like Pain is Dead.
Yeah.
Pain is Dead. Like they publish a lot of stuff again from around the world. I mean, and it seems like most of the crazy stuff is like comes out of Russia.
Surprise.
I know, really. And so like now if we can, reform that question, it's like what part of the world really influences me? I would say like the artistic ability coming out of Russia is pretty
up there.
Pretty up there. And the scary part about that is that they're using products that are newer and not as developed as like 3M or whatever. And so like it makes you nervous,
They're on
like,
that cutting edge.
Yeah, and so like they're either they're getting this material for free and doing some crazy things with it, or their customers literally don't care about how much money they spend and say, look, this is going to probably last a month, but it's going to look awesome.
It's going to look awesome for a month.
It's like, okay, cool. And, and so, the stuff coming out of there is pretty sick. Like Australia has some really cool brands out there and some artists out there. And so out of the states, like if I had to like call out a region or like a state itself, maybe like let's see, like maybe Florida or New Orleans. You those are the ones that kind of stand out the most. But there's a lot. There's a lot of like you know areas like especially in the bigger markets like LA and like Seattle. Like you're gonna find like a shop out there that is kind of in that same form where they're just like they're lucky to have that clientele that understands it and wants to just drop an insane amount of money on something
Right.
and come up with something cool and different, which and that's what we're about. Like that's what we want to envelop is like the difference.
Yeah.
We want to stand apart and we want to come up with something cool and whatnot. So and I think that's why we get tapped on the shoulder a lot with special projects.
Yeah, we do attract certain kind of people like that sometimes for certain projects.
Yeah.
It's to the point where I'm totally okay with whatever walks through the door. The crazier it is, the better, because the wild stuff is really what breaks up the it breaks up all the monotonous normal stuff.
Like having somebody come through the door the other day and say like, I want this and this and that. I don't want it to look like I'm a standard company. I want this to look off the wall. Oh, by the way, I want the Dogecoin logo on the side of my
yeah, can we
car.
put that
Like,
on my car?
okay, sure.
Yes, sir. Let's go. Of course.
We'll do it, man. Let's do it.
You really do need to put the Stonks guy's face on it. You need to. I'm gonna be sad if we can't do that.
Yes, definitely. We want to do things like that are just ridiculous. That's all. I want to do things that are ridiculous and that don't follow suit. So
yeah. So what do you have any influences outside of this, like comic book people or airbrush people, automotive industry people?
I mean, like, I feel like I'm just horrible at names. I really am. Like, and I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just like ignorant and just stuck in my own world, or I don't like. It's like songs and music, right? Like I know this song, I love this song,
But I couldn't tell you
who's
who
the
wrote
artist.
it.
Like, what are the lyrics? Like some lyrics I might know, some I might not. But like in like that artist industry, I mean, like the only thing that I've ever thought of that would really influence me was very abstract and just black and white. And I think it was oh God, there was an exhibit at the museum, and I went years ago. He's famous for that sphere in his hand and
MC Escher, is that who you're talking
Escher,
about?
yes. Yes.
That's been a common response on the podcast so
Are you
far.
serious?
I'm so serious. I'm here for it.
Are you serious?
Yeah, dude. I've had 3 or 4 people say this out of like 13 recorded episodes so far.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there's something with it then.
Yeah,
it's
there's
like,
got to be.
It seems like obviously it's very liberal. It's very there's no like it could be geometrical and there could be some science to it or mathematics to it, but
Yeah.
at the same time it's not. It's very it could be very organic.
Yeah, I think it's easy to look through the human perspective in his artwork because there's a lot to be grounded with. It's very surreal, but at the same time it uses a lot of down to earth touch points in the artwork itself. Like there's usually people, he's in the spherical picture, the reflection of him in the room. I just feel like there's a lot of ground, of similarities in his work. There's a lot of common visual aspects that are of everyday life, and then he just twists them in a certain way.
Yeah, exactly.
To become surrealist.
And so and he was one of the artists that we studied obviously in school, and then like when that came to town I was like, oh, okay, I gotta go.
Yeah, gotta go do this.
I gotta go see this. And so after that it's always been just kind of a hit and miss, and just kind of busy doing just like everyday life things. And so I've been lucky to like really just hold on and keep a grasp on what I really love to do and not let it go because like, okay, I gotta be financially responsible, and
Right.
I guess I'm gonna get this everyday 9-to-5 job, and what I mean, punch in. I'm talking about like one of the first jobs I had was like here in Tennessee was literally like data process, like oh cool,
Data entry all day.
I got so and so's insurance policy and I'm gonna put it on their record, like that's what I'm talking about, you know what I mean, like. And so there's a difference between a job where you clock in and do that every day versus I agree. So, there's there's a difference of that versus like coming in, having like some, you know, uh, freedom, kind of mentally, creatively,
Yeah.
and like enjoying it and like having some sense of fulfillment after the fact. And it doesn't necessarily have to be on a day by day basis. It could be like a week by week. If it was month by month, we'd be
That'd be
having
tough.
some issues.
That'd be tough.
But sometimes you're working on that project. You got through with it, X amount of it, throughout the day. But like here we are at the end of the week, it's out. And
Yeah.
it's awesome. It looks awesome.
Customers happy, whole 9 yards. We executed.
Yeah, the client, the customer, the baby, nom nom noms.
We have a very vocal guest producer today.
He's got a face full of
SpaghettiOs rock.
SpaghettiOs and avocado.
That's a glorious combination, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I will happily take SpaghettiOs and avocado on any given day. Like, hey, you want a snack? SpaghettiOs and avocados? Oh, yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, but I always kind of guilt trip myself because I'm just horrible at remembering like names. I gotta say it 3 times, and I've slept since yesterday. So
And you hate repeating yourself.
yeah, I hate repeating myself when it's to my mom. No, I'm just joking. I love you, mom.
She ain't gonna listen to this. I don't know why you're worried
Yeah,
about
okay,
it. So, do you have any? What's your workflow look like? That's a good question. I like asking people that
What
one.
does my workflow look like?
Yeah.
So like you talking about like how I produce a certain piece, or are you talking about like just everyday life? Like what do I do when I get up and go to work?
Well, I mean, a little bit of both. If you're doing the majority of your creative expression through your professional outlet at AZ, when a client phones you up, what's the work through?
So there's quite a few different scenarios that we can kind of run through. But like let's just say you're like new person, never met you. You came in, you're like,
I want to turn my car blue.
yeah, I want to turn my car blue. Okay, cool. Like, do you literally just want to turn it blue, or do you want to add, do you want to add something cool to it, or do you want to give us some freedom to, apply some like accents, or, and really get a read from the person's personality. I really am a big believer in like, trying to create a look according to that person's personality. And so, when it's not as easy as like, hey, how much to wrap? X amount of dollars. Okay, cool. I'll see you on Tuesday. Let's wrap it that. Like,
Right.
yeah, I mean that's cool. Like, that's fine. That's like the easy button. But like, ideally, before we like get this thing booked, like, come on in. Let's look at the car. Let's talk about it. Let's just go through the ins and outs. Like, let me get into your brain a little bit and just really figure out what's gonna make you happy. Like, I don't want to do something. It is what you wanted, but then a week later you're like, why did I do it this way?
Yeah.
It's like I want to make sure you're really, obtaining a long term value for the amount of money you're spending. And so again, just coming in, getting a feel for what the customer likes, and it's like it's weird because I could ask them some questions that they didn't know were coming to them.
Right.
Like, what do you like to do on the weekends, or what's your favorite sport, or do you even like sports, or what's your best, what do you do on your pastime, like what's your hobby, blah blah blah, what's your favorite color, like it's like you know what I mean, like, and so all that really does help to create something that is unique and personalized, and the customer just like is appreciative of it, and it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to come with a pricey, tag.
Yeah.
Big price tag. I mean, it could be something very minimal and small, but adds again just a sense of uniqueness that makes it their own.
Yeah. That sense of uniqueness can come even with really small modifications too, and I think a lot of people don't. They might not understand that, but all it takes is a little touch sometimes to make things really pop.
Exactly. So yeah, the commercial side, or the custom side. I'm sorry, the color change stuff. I mean, it is fun. It could be fun. It could be very fun. Even if they come in with like, hey, this is what I want.
Yeah.
Striping system that I want. Okay, sure, you want it that way, and then sometimes you make them realize something that they didn't think of. And so you altered it a little bit, but ultimately it's still their own because it was their original concept. And so, it just takes a little bit of input, and and willingness. Like some people are like worried that they're gonna offend the customer or client, and they hold it in. They don't say anything.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you got this hideous looking rap. Like, who the hell did that? And like, oh, so and so did. They did what I wanted, but man, I wish they would have given me some advice. Like,
Then XYZ, yeah.
well, it is what it is, buddy.
Next time.
Next time. Next time. So, and then on the flip side of that, it's like the commercial stuff. If if they come to us with the logo, it makes our job a little bit easier. Because then if they have some like a website or something like that, and they still don't really know what they want, then I kind of do the dig in. I still pick their brain a little bit, kind of ask them the same questions, and then we come up with the composition, and they're happy with it, or they tell us, hey, tweak it here and there. Oh God.
It's like, this ain't milk. I don't want this.
Your arms are fully. This guy's arms are like
covered in SpaghettiOs right now.
SpaghettiOs. This is what happens when Dad feeds you.
Yeah, right. So, do you find some zen or flow state when you're in the middle of creating whatever it is for the clients? Do you find some peace of mind in your workflow sometimes?
I do. It's like, you could come in on Monday and ask me how things are going on a Wednesday, and I have probably yet to put, an actual image on the computer. But it's like,
it's still up here.
It's all circulating
turning
in my head. Like, I'm thinking about it. I'm kind of looking at things that are within the realm of what you're looking to have done. Because ultimately I'm just like, okay, man, I just thought of this from scratch. I swear this is an original piece.
Yeah.
You do it. 2 weeks later, you see another car and it looks like it. Like, oh, no.
No.
Ah, dang it. So there's a little bit of research involved, only because you definitely don't want to look like you just copied somebody.
Yeah. Even if it's on accident.
Yeah. And so, like, the best feeling in the world for me is, like, when I go through that process, I put it together and I send them a visual and they're like, perfect. And I'm like, no way.
No way.
No, this is awesome. Don't change it. I mean, that's a home run. Yeah, brother. Exactly. And so, those are awesome. Like, those are really awesome. And so, but, man, your listeners are going to be like, what is going on?
Hey, man, if they don't like it, they can turn it off. It's marked explicit for a reason.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. I haven't cussed. I haven't said one cuss word, but here we got.
No, we got.
He's cussing.
It's a very loud. He's talking in cursive over here. A very loud, hungry child.
Yeah, buddy. So, but like, but I don't ever expect that to happen. Like, you gotta expect, like, maybe you're gonna have
a couple revisions just to be safe.
Yeah, you're gonna have.
That's a healthy expectation.
Exactly.
And to think you're gonna knock it out of the park every time is an unrealistic expectation.
Yeah, I don't want to have that mentality, because that to me is just a little. I don't want to have that mentality, because to me that's just like a little bit of a little too cocky.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I have a hard time saying we're the best. Like, I know we're good. Like, and I have a great team.
I just look at people and I go, we do all right.
Yeah,
we do all right.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to call us the best, thank you.
Sure.
Like, we really
I'll take
appreciate it. But we just want to, we want to do good work. We want to be proud of what we do, and we want to love what we do, and everything else that comes with it. If it's praises or whatever, like, sweet. Like,
track days.
Yeah, track days. I mean, we'll take it. So yeah, we're definitely fortunate to be in the industry that we're in, especially as artists, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. And even if I was in this industry in some way that wasn't necessarily creative, I would still enjoy working around the machines, because we have access to such amazing machines. Like, whether it comes from the print side, like the printers and plotters and stuff we use are amazing machines, and then we get to apply that towards the vehicles that we're privileged enough to work on.
Exactly.
Like, it's crazy the variety of vehicles we have access to at times.
Oh yeah, I mean, it could be like a $20,000 whatever to a $250,000 supercar.
Yeah,
I mean,
whatever.
It's crazy. So
that's another thing that keeps you on your toes. What am I going to work on today? I don't know, but it goes real fast.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds mean.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome. So yeah, cool projects is what we're about, for sure.
someone's very excited to be here today.
Definitely. I say we take this opportunity for a small commercial break from
Yeah,
your
we
from
can
your
do
sponsors.
that. Yeah.
We-
All right. So after another slight break here, who are our sponsors? We ain't got no sponsors. Ain't no commercial break.
Nah,
We just out here doing things.
I'm just here. I'm the guest.
So I like to ask my guests if they have any like moonshot projects or things in the wings or on the horizon. Do you have any of those things, Lou?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to like.
You want to talk about your race car?
Yeah, the project car. So, it two cars will become one, and when these two cars become one,
There's a Highlander
Oh,
joke in here
man.
somewhere.
I know.
There can be only one.
yeah, they're gonna be only one. No, it's just like I would love for this car to not get rushed, and then it comes in. It's nice, and it's obviously it's an older car. It's got some paint issues with it, so give it a good base of black, of course.
Yeah. Because you're gonna wrap it.
Because we'll wrap it. Yeah, we'll do some cool stuff with it, and it won't ever stay the same for more than a year, probably.
You can't wear the same dress twice.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things where right now, financially, with having a baby and everything, we're gonna make it easy to maintain. So like, we're gonna put like a V8 in it, just a LS motor, and because it's an FC, it's an RX-7. And I know, I'm sorry, if you rotary.
Blasphemy.
I know you rotary geeks out there. I apologize because for years I said I would never do this, and well, I'm biting my tongue right now. So.
Well,
but with the knowing that in the future I will definitely have the itch to bring put it back to the original power plant. We're gonna make it easy for that to happen. So for now it'll be a V8 drift car, and we'll do some fun stuff with it, and other projects maybe to come, not necessarily in that form or fashion, but just visually, something that we can do somewhere would be awesome. One of the things that I'm a firm believer in is just being really in touch with the community. So getting ourselves to a place where we can do things with and for the community. Any special art projects that we can help with, or help fund, or somewhat, where of course it still gives us some ability to influence like the overall aesthetics or look or
Right.
whatever. I would definitely see that in the near future. And so just things where these projects can be something to look forward to, not just for me as an owner or the company itself, but even for like our staff. Just like, man, I would really love to be a part of that or have some influence and blah, all, the whole 9 yards type of thing. And ideally it's something like where it's publicly seen. I'm not saying like it needs to be downtown or anything, but again, just here we're in the, I guess, what is this, the Carnes community. We're, I think, is it
I've never thought about it.
Yeah.
I just say Northwest Knoxville.
Yeah. And so I think we're kind of like right on the eastern outskirt of the Carnes community. So
Yeah, probably.
But honestly, again, not to keep throwing in like the fact that I was born and raised in LA or whatever. It's so big. So coming to Knoxville, it's for me it's difficult to think like, oh man, like I'm in this this bordered community here.
Yeah.
Because Knoxville is would probably be the entire area of Knoxville would be considered a community in LA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like the entire area of Knoxville is our community, but if we had to be designated to a certain portion, so be it. I don't think that is a thing. I think we could help wherever we can.
Yeah. I mean, we've done stuff all over the county and outside the county.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've even stretched legs out to Sevierville and stuff a few times.
Yep. Definitely. I mean, heck, we've gone up to like Kentucky. So
Yeah.
But yeah, so I definitely see some cool stuff like that, especially when it's like things that aren't necessarily average for us, like which yes, we could wrap whatever, right?
If it has a surface.
If it has a surface, so like even if it's like some street art or sidewalk art or just public beautification, things like that. Again, just whatever it is that we can do to to help entities in need.
Yeah.
I'm definitely all for it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He likes Goya. So he's of Hispanic descent.
Right. So my last question is, who are some folks that you would like to listen to or see on the podcast metaphorically? Like who are some people you would like to hear in this format talking about their creative expressions?
I mean, there's obviously a lot of local artists here, and Knoxville, you know, it's crazy. Like if you that's who he wants to see.
Yeah.
But you've got to be obviously like on top of your game when it comes to whichever community you're a part of. And so just kind of seeing where like other business owners are who are kind of at that equivalent level as we are, if not in a tier above us. I mean, because we're still new.
Yeah.
Like we're not, we've not been around for decades. There have been companies here, around a little, definitely longer than us, that have some great style. One off the top of my head, like is it could be like Label Industries. Like they do a lot of screen printed stuff and like embroidery, and they do like kind of like a turnkey solution for like event pop-up stuff.
Mhm.
So I think one of their biggest clients is like Old Smoky, which is one of our biggest clients for like the large format printed
Yeah.
stuff.
We do a
so
lot of their box trucks
I
and
think
signage.
Mike out there with Label, he's reached out to us, and we've kind of talked here and there a little bit, but we're not like hardcore like acquaintances. But they seem like a good group of people, and somebody that we wouldn't care to like associate with. So those guys would be one of them. And then just I don't know, like any other like local artist that is that has been around for a long time, that has actually seen Knoxville grow maybe in the past 30 years.
Yeah.
So that would definitely put that person at maybe the age of 50 or 60 years old. So kind of more of an elder.
Yeah,
I know I'm old,
I know
but,
some
like,
people in that
yeah.
realm of
Um,
Knoxville society.
And to kind of get like their take on like where Knoxville's come from, where they're at, and where they're going, type of deal. That would definitely be pleasing, because like we've had the conversation before, like of like you go to to do those walls outside at
Yeah. The art park.
the art
I've
park.
done that twice.
Having something out that like that here. I mean, I would love to, if we could help make that happen, to help make that happen.
Yeah. Curtis and I chatted a little bit about that last night. He would also love to see something like that happen, and wouldn't mind throwing a little bit of effort at it too. So
yeah.
maybe if we can get enough people, we can get something nice and have nice things.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So, there's a lot of possibilities for sure, but those are at least, two of the off the top of my head, type guests I'd love to, hear from on here. And the underground stuff, it's, I can't say I'm necessarily out of touch with underground stuff, but I don't get out as much as I used to, and so I might be a little bit less in touch with it. Because like the underground stuff to me in another category would be obviously like the drifting stuff, which I've been a part of for 10+ years, and it still seems like it's almost. I mean, it is somewhat mainstream, but not all the way like like NASCAR.
Yeah, it's not. Every household knows the name.
I underground hip hop and stuff like that. There's a ton of history there, and so I feel like with what we do, or like just an artist in general, if there's some sort of underground circuit, like I don't know enough about it. The most that I know is just hearing from what you talk about.
Which ain't much in the Knoxville scene because I'm not so integrated.
But you know what? There's a potential there.
Yeah,
'cause,
definitely.
I mean, if they're the intrigue of it has a ton of possibilities, and the people that aren't necessarily artists but want to be a part of it, I feel like there's definitely potential with that that attraction to those types of people.
Yeah, for sure. And I know a lot of quote unquote street art has popped up in South Knoxville and the industrial properties, just off Sevier the last
Yeah.
3 or 4 years because, every side of the building between Print Shop and Alliance, Print Shop and Alliance and Highwire, everything between those three buildings on Sevier is, covered by the train tracks, and there's a lot of really good stuff back there.
Right.
And I wouldn't mind chatting with some of the guys that throw paint on those buildings.
The times that I do get to drive out somewhere for some reason, I do see I have been seeing more and more.
Yeah, South Knoxville is really getting colorful lately.
Like we were in Asheville a couple weeks ago, and Asheville's cool. Everybody knows.
Did you go the
it.
wedge like I told you to?
I did not go. It was just a weird, just the itinerary for us as young parents is just was nuts. So
it's controlled by a third party.
yeah, exactly. I would. Sorry. So everybody knows Asheville's a cool spot. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
It's a
and
cool
just
spot.
driving around the areas that we did drive around. I mean, tons of just public art, whatever. So I have my question to you would be Knoxville it seems like it's on the verge of being somewhat of a Nashville. I mean, do you see that?
I see it. It needs more engagement from the public because I feel like in Asheville the public sort of eggs on the art creativity. Like, hey, there's a space. Somebody come do something about it. I feel like there's more of that ethos about it because you could be walking around the River Arts District and you see paint everywhere,
Right.
but you walk around downtown and you still see paint everywhere.
Yeah.
We've got 3 alleys between Old City and Market Square that are covered, pretty well with street art and graffiti and whatnot.
Yeah.
I just feel like there could and should be more
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I agree.
because there's enough creative people around here in this small big city with talent that it's you might as well you might as well embrace it the way other places do.
I feel like so I moved here back in '99. The difference between then and now is insane.
Oh yeah, Market Square's a thing now.
Market Square's a thing. I mean, I think when I first drove through there was fences up still, and but just I feel like back then when I first got here, if somebody got caught or whatever, it was
It's pretty harsh.
yeah, harsh punishment for sure. Definitely there was definitely no support for it.
I feel like there's definitely more municipal support for art these days. City of Knoxville and the tourist board and all those kind of groups and individuals and entities that work to help, I guess, bring culture and tourism and creativity and what all that to the masses for Knoxville are doing a better job than hasn't been performed in the past because last couple of years I've seen the city put on a lot and different entities around town are definitely trying. Of course, it's difficult right now, but they're trying.
I feel like we were on the with all the festivals that were going around or happening, up until the pandemic, we would have had a pretty sick 2020 if there was no interruption due to.
Oh, dude, 2020 would have been lit as hell. I'm going to just say it right. The drift schedule you had, the season was about to go down, everything was lined up. But that doesn't mean it cannot be lit in the future.
Exactly. I think this just, all this is just kind of giving everybody an eye-opening, wake-up call, okay, we can do a ton of stuff once everything opens back up.
Yeah. And we've had a year to think about it,
Exactly.
really weigh out the pros and the cons and priorities, all that good stuff. That looked like a good face.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, we'll find out in a moment, I suppose. Okay, cool.
He definitely wants to get a hold of that microphone.
Yeah, Lil Lou wants the mic. Let me on that mic.
Yeah, he's getting warm.
Well, I'll say this. Louie, thanks for being on the show. It's been a great conversation.
Yeah.
I'm happy we could finally sit down and make this happen.
I know.
You guys, I swear, I'm gonna bug him and bend his ear about getting the Leftovers podcast up and running for when drift things happen again or in and around Knoxville. I really enjoyed being on the Leftovers podcast, and it was a good podcast. I'm trying to get Nathan on this podcast too because I want to talk to him about analog photography. And I just want to sit down and talk with him for a bit. So that'll be a good one. And I'm gonna play us out. Lou, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on, man. Thank you guys.
That was the show. I hope you enjoyed. All the relevant social media and website links will be in the episode description for the featured artist today. And if you yourself or know an artist that you would like to be or see on the platform, shoot me an email. It'll be listed somewhere on here. I'll try to make it plainly evident for you. But thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next time.